Hello and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Chris, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience. It includes music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to the newsletter to receive that on our website at uova.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uova.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thanks, Chris, and hello, everyone. Hello, especially to our friends who are in the Zoom room right now, and hello to everyone on YouTube, whether you're watching live or later. We appreciate your energy, and your energy is contributing to this ministry that we call Unity of Fredericksburg. So our theme this month for September is prayer, and this past week, on the evening of September the 13th, World Day of Prayer, Unity's World Day of Prayer started and lasted 24 hours. We had a wonderful in-person event that featured a sound bath with Reverend Pamela Mann. We had a great time. And we're continuing to talk about prayer today. We're looking at the divine prayer pattern. So this is basically a prayer that many of us are familiar with because we may have grown up reciting it in church. You might know of it as the Our Father or the Lord's Prayer. And what we're looking at today is basically we're looking at it as a template or a blueprint, a pattern of how to pray, as taught by Jesus. And Jesus in Unity refer to Jesus as our elder brother, our way shower, as a teacher. Our intention today as we talk about this prayer pattern that Jesus taught is to move beyond a rote recitation, move beyond being tied to specific words that may have come through multiple translations and lost some of their nuance along the way, and to move beyond any particular religious dogma that might be attached to that prayer. So we're going to be looking at it in lots of different ways. We're going to be moving into kind of seeing the pattern that is there, making this prayer our own, and transforming it into something out of the past and into the here and now where it can have some deep meaning. So let's get started with all that. And we will start with a little background of talking about where the Lord's Prayer shows up in the Bible. It shows up in two places, in two of the Gospels, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11. And this happens as the disciples ask Jesus, teach us how to pray. And he does a shorter version than many of us are familiar with. And then the more familiar piece is in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6. It's in the midst of what is known as the Sermon on the Mount. And actually, Jesus starts out by saying how not to pray. Don't do it this way. Don't do it that way. Interestingly enough, even though many of us knew this prayer and recited it by rote in our religious background, Jesus is very particular. Don't pray like that. Don't pray with just repeating words over and over again by memorization. So it's kind of interesting to point that out. The Gospels, it's also important for us to realize, think about, the Gospels were actually written more than a generation after Jesus passed away. So none of the people who wrote the Gospels were actually present during the ministry. So you understand this comes from notes and it's been handed down and handed down. So when it comes to this question of translation, do we actually know what Jesus actually taught? Well, hopefully we have some nuance of it. The text itself has been through so many different translations, and there are biblical scholars, of course, that have gone on for many, many years of looking at translations. The Bible itself was written in Greek, and the scholars these days agree across the board that the language that Jesus was most likely speaking was Aramaic when he was speaking with people in his ministries. Now, there are some very well-known scholars who study the Bible in the original Aramaic. A couple of those are some gentlemen named George Lamza and Rocco Errico. So I thought we might start. I'm going to assume that we all have a knowledge of the kind of, Bible-based prayer that we're talking about, the Lord's Prayer. So I'm going to share with you from Rocco Errico, Dr. Rocco Errico's website, what he calls an expanded translation of the Lord's Prayer. So listen to this. Our Father, who is everywhere, your name is sacred. Your kingdom is come. Your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive us our offenses, even as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error, because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song and praise from all ages throughout all ages. Isn't that nice? So you can hear that there's a sense when you have a scholar, a biblical scholar, looking at the original Aramaic, you have a sense that some of the tone really got shifted over the years with translation. And we can't, any of us, know for sure what was actually said, how it was said, but you get that sense from this version based on the Aramaic that rather than a beseeching tone, there's more of an affirming tone to that, right? So let me just repeat a couple of those lines for you that I find particularly, let me just repeat the whole thing. How about that? Again, this is an Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer from Dr. Rocco Errico. Our Father who is everywhere, your name is sacred. Your kingdom is come. Your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive us our offenses, even as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error, because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song and praise from all ages throughout all ages. So that's our first take on looking at the Lord's Prayer in a different way. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'm using a source here today. It's a book called The Source of Miracles. Let me see if I can get it where it doesn't have too much glare on it. The Source of Miracles. It's by an author named Kathleen McGowan, and she wrote this in 2009. Kathleen McGowan is a very well-known novelist and has written lots of novels based on the myth surrounding many of the myths surrounding Mary Magdalene. I really I love this little book because of her approach to the Lord's Prayer. Is based on some of her interest in labyrinths. So in particular, a labyrinth that is found in a cathedral, the Chartres Cathedral in France. And the labyrinth covers the whole floor in that cathedral. And at the center of the labyrinth, after you do all of the walking, you find in the center a 6-petal flower. And Kathleen McGowan's approach to the Lord's Prayer is looking at those 6 petals as the 6 steps that are in the pattern of this prayer. So we're going to look at the Lord's Prayer based on those 6 petals. So the first petal, or the first step, is faith. So in the King James version of the prayer we're talking about here, this would be the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. In that Aramaic prayer that I just read to you from Rocco Errico, it's Our Father who is everywhere, your name is sacred. So for us here and now, this first petal, this first step in this prayer process is a statement of faith. A very brief statement of faith where you say for yourself what it is you believe. So what you call this divine benevolent energy that is in everything and in ourselves. So you might call it spirit, divine mind, you might call it God, you might call it universe, whatever it is, that's fine. Just this is a time in your prayer to kind of name it. And also, there's a description of like, where is it? All right. So we know that in a lot of dogmatic religion, it's up there somewhere else. It's not here. But in unity, we like to affirm that this is everywhere present, including here within me. So whatever it is, name it, say where it is. You can say in heaven and earth, in my heart and mind, whatever works for you, and claim it as holy. And as you claim the divine, the universe, the energy of the universe as holy, you also claim yourself and your life as an expression of all that is holy. So feel that right now in your mind, in your heart, in your body. Just feel that claiming of everything is holy now. So after that first petal in that flower at the center of the labyrinth, the second petal is surrender. So in the King James, this is the phrase, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. In the Aramaic version that I read you, it is your kingdom is come, your will is throughout the earth. So this second step in this prayer blueprint is about setting aside the agenda and the desires of your ego in your human nature, where we're out here in the world and we want to feel secure and we want to feel worthy and important, setting that aside and focusing our energy on that, all that is, whatever it is that you call the source of your beingness. And we know that this is the nature of our practice from day to day, is remembering to shift our attention away from the outer, away from the desires of our ego, and into our divine nature. And that is this practice of surrender. That is the second step in the pattern of this prayer. So once again, I encourage you, let's feel it in our mind, in our heart, in our body, of letting go of the ego and moving into our divine nature. So that's the second step. The third petal in this flower at the center of the labyrinth of this prayer is service. In the King James Version, this is the phrase that says, on earth as it is in heaven. And in the Aramaic version I've read to you, I'll read the previous phrase so it links in together. Your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. So this third step is about realizing that how we are in the world is being of service. It's all about the opportunity to be of service by creating heaven in your earthly life, creating a heavenly space in your mind by choosing your thoughts with care, creating heaven in your heart by paying attention to your regard for others, and in the physical world by how you show up and make choices in your outer life, that we are being of service by creating heaven on earth. This is kind of like our assignment, our homework assignment as we go through our life is creating heaven on earth. So feel that, feel it in your mind, in your heart, in your body. Just be there with that for a moment. Okay. The fourth petal in this pattern, in this flower, is abundance. So in the King James, it says, give us this day our daily bread. The Aramaic shifts kind of away from that beseeching or asking and affirms, you give us our needful bread from day to day. And here, where we are right now, this is our affirmative claim on the abundance of the universe. So again, we're not begging, we're not asking, we're not saying please. This is us demonstrating a knowing that all that is necessary for us to operate in this life is already provided. There's no lack in spirit. There are no limitations in the universal heart of your being. This is an expression of knowing that abundance. So again, I keep putting my hand on my head and on my heart, and I invite you to do that with me as we just feel that knowing. We know that that daily bread, all of our needs are provided for. And that is this step in this prayer, in this blueprint for prayer. All right, so we're up to 5 now, 5 of 6 steps, 5 of 6 petals. And this one is forgiveness. Now in the King James, it says, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. The Aramaic says, and you forgive our offenses, even as we forgive our offenders. So for us here and now, what we do when we do this step of prayer is acknowledge our understanding of how the universe works, how flow happens. So it's an equation. It's stating that as we operate in forgiveness, we will also experience forgiveness. Then there's the other side of that. Anytime we are withholding and withholding forgiveness, being in a space of resentment or judgment, then guess what? We are blocking our own flow of good. Because there it is, right there in the prayer, as we forgive, we will experience forgiveness. So it's a reminder to ourselves, again, to get out of the way in which our brain might operate, which, might remember and not forgive someone, and to come into that space where we are sharing an energy of forgiveness, and then we know that we will experience an energy of forgiveness. So again, let's bring that right into where we are right here, right now. See it just sinking in to all of your thoughts and all of your feelings. And we're touching our bodies here so that we really feel it. And we come now to the 6th petal in this flower at the center of the labyrinth. The blueprint for prayer is overcoming. In the King James, it is these phrases, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The Aramaic, and let us not enter into, I skipped a word, and you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error. So error is the word that we use in unity, so that we are not identifying a lot of energy with this word evil and thinking of entities that are evil. Not that there isn't evil out in the world, but we don't claim that in our prayers. We talk about sin as basically just missing the mark. And of course, we can always try again. So we use the word error. And this sixth step of the prayer acknowledges that we are here in this human life and there are going to be challenges. There are going to be challenges for us to deal with as we go through life of a variety of different things. And this part of the prayer acknowledges that, and acknowledges that the energy of the universe is not here to encourage us to attach to all of those things in our outer lives and in the outer world, but to always shift our attention back to the ways of spirit, where the blessings are always present, the love is always present, and to remind us of that, showing us the way of wisdom and love. So this is all about overcoming. It acknowledges that sometimes things are hard, and yet it is acknowledging that the energy of the universe is always encouraging and supporting us to overcome rather than to attach. So let's feel that one more time, that sense of overcoming, that sense of support, that sense of that ever improving arc of how things go in this life. So that really completes the prayer. The ending part, which is called the doxology, was added to the prayer in the 1500s. It's not there in the Bible. It's not something that's attributed to Jesus. It's a church thing that was added on. So we're not really going to include it. But I want to go back and review these 6 steps. There's 6 petals in this flower at the center of a labyrinth, and they are faith, surrender, service, abundance, forgiveness, and overcoming. And using this image again, I'll show you this book from this lovely little book, The Source of Miracles. You can kind of see, I'm hoping you can see on camera that there's a picture of the labyrinth there. And what we have at the center of the labyrinth as we complete these 6 steps in this blueprint for prayer is love. So in this life, we have the opportunity to practice love, to practice showing up and being the energy of love in all of these different environments that we encounter in our professional lives, in our personal lives, in our way that we are with the earth itself, the way we are with people we know and don't know. And of course, we make mistakes. We bump into each other. Sometimes we don't do well. That's what that whole piece about overcoming is. But this prayer blueprint, this pattern, helps us to practice and try again through this process of faith, surrender, service, abundance, forgiveness, and overcoming. This process that Jesus taught. It reminds us to come to center, return to our center, create love in all of our daily affairs. Find love even in the challenging circumstances. And what I always say, if you're not finding the love, if you're not feeling the love, then maybe this is a moment for you to be the love, to be the energy of love in a space where you're not feeling it. So as we move now into our time of meditation, I'm going to offer one more version of this divine prayer pattern that was modeled for us by Jesus, our elder brother, our way shower. So let's start our meditation with a couple of deep breaths and just come to this moment right here, right now, setting aside all the busyness of your day before this and all your plans for what's coming later. And let's practice this divine prayer pattern with these words. All that is goodness, everywhere present and holy by any name. This energy of goodness expresses freely and fully in my outer world as it does in my divine nature within. The abundance of the universe supports me in every circumstance. And I know that as I offer heartfelt forgiveness, I am also forgiven. As I set my intentions to perceive goodness, I experience goodness, and I am grateful. So we take this energy now into the stillness together. And as we begin to come back to the current moment, back into our body, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, feel yourself present in your seat, in your body. Let's reflect one more time on these 6 steps in the pattern of this prayer. The first step is faith. Second step is surrender. Service. Abundance. Forgiveness. Overcoming. And at our center, at the center of source, at the center of our beingness, at the center of the universe is this energy of love, this magnetizing, harmonizing, unitizing energy of love. And as we close our time of meditation, let's just seal it with a statement of gratitude. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful. And so it is. That's it for me today. And I'm going to hand it back to my friend, Chris.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And everyone, thanks for watching our weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org. Learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation. Support our ministry with your financial donations. Thanks again.